From the reign of one of the most brutal regimes ever came, soon came some of the darkest secrets and hidden mysteries the world had ever known. One of those dark secrets was the famed treasure trove, the Nazi Gold Train. How did this train come about? Where is it today? And what does the nation of Poland know about what might have been one of the biggest clues to the financial misappropriation of the ill-fated German tyranny? In the next few minutes, we'll tell you everything about this big, hidden treasure. Following the defeat of Germany and its allies in 1944, lots of war paraphernalia were either hidden, burned, or lost. These pieces of war crimes evidence were hastily disposed of as Soviet forces advanced towards the Germans, pushing them further into Hungarian territory. Once here, Arpad Toldi, an Hungarian officer, was appointed to oversee the dispossession of the Hungarian Jews. Huge numbers of Jews and their hundreds of thousands were stripped of their jewelry, rings, gold bars, and other valuables before being sent to concentration camps. In a bid to hide these stolen items, a freight train with about 46 coaches was used to store these stolen items, transported to a safe location. This was to prevent them from falling into the hands of the Soviets. Further preparation to carry out this immoral heist included having more than 200 workers on the train, miners who could quickly dig holes and bury the vast stolen treasure in the event they were stopped along the train. To prevent this loot from getting into the wrong hands, derailment plans were also activated. Soldiers were also on board to defend the valuables placed in as many as 24 of the carriages. Some of the stolen items on the train included diamonds, gold bars, rings, paintings, porcelain of priceless value, and much more, and all the value could be easily put at over $2 billion. Towards the end of 1944, it's believed that this Hungarian officer and his family got on the train and left the town to go to Austria. The plan was to get there before heading back to Germany and finding a safe haven. On the way, he stopped by more towns and again stole more valuable items from residents. After these inglorious heists, the train stopped to take stock of what they had taken so far, made records of their loot for over 90 days, cataloging and separating the items into their respective places. With each passing day, Toldi was sure that the mission would not be completed. The Soviets were gaining fast on them, and soon he became paranoid. After offering some of the valuables to the soldiers on board, he got off the train and entered Switzerland with his family. Before then, he asked his assistant to complete the mission as he sought safety. In Switzerland, he was denied entry and had to offer about 4 crates of valuables in exchange for false passports. The train eventually made its way to Austria and stopped to offload tons of these valuable items. However, to this day, there are no records of what happened to them. It's likely that the German soldiers stole them. When the train got to the town of Werfen in Austria, it never made it back to Germany. It was seized by Allied forces. The French were the first to take control of the train before handing it over to U.S. forces. The U.S. arrested the crew and everyone on board. When the content of the train was finally offloaded, about 1,500 crates of valuables were found. There were paintings, furniture, lots of items that eventually found their way to America. When the Hungarian government found out that the train never reached Germany, they demanded that the loot be returned, but America completely ignored their request. In the end, it became clear that a great portion of the items were lost to German soldiers of all ranks and files. For decades, the entire mystery about this train was kept out of public knowledge, until 1998, when investigations into it were revived. With this, the American government was brought before a court and asked to account for what it did with the items on the train. Eventually, a $25.5 million settlement was reached and given to Jewish-based charities as compensation. While the whole story may seem like a good way to end the injustice against Hungarian Jews and any other race that was victimized, another shocking news that rocked Europe, especially the nation of Poland, when news began to make the rounds that another significant treasure trove, stolen by the Nazis, may have ended up in Poland. In 2015, the rumor suddenly broke that the famed Nazi Gold Train containing the Amber Room was located somewhere in the country. The Amber Room was initially built in 1716 in Prussia and offered to the Russian leader Peter the Great. During the Second World War, the Nazis stole and dismantled it, and it disappeared without a trace. The Amber Room is estimated to be worth about $140 to $500 million currently. With the news that the train where the Amber Room was loaded after dismantling, a number of politicians expressed optimism that the train could be found and the treasures recovered. Some of the politicians who held these views included high-ranking officials in Poland. With the supposed confirmation by these politicians that one of the many treasures stolen during the Second World War was in Poland, a gold search frenzy hit the nation. It's believed that the train was not too far from the rail tracks that ran through a town, and so that area was quickly cordoned off and guarded. For the amount of wealth contained in that missing train, the Polish government was leaving no stone unturned. The Amber Room was about the most precious item they sought to recover. It had been initially stolen in 1941, disappeared sometime in 1944 during a night raid on the Nazis. Although all documents about what was stolen from the Jews by the Germans has been officially found, there was a small chance that some precious items were still missing. Also, two treasure-seeking partners, Andreas Rittger and his treasure-hunting partner Piotr Koper, believed there were tons of missing gold aboard the train, and they were not sparing any effort to find it. In interviews, they claimed they had evidence after using some form of ground radar to prove the train location, but didn't offer any details other than that. Their claims were also backed by another treasure seeker, Lowakorski, who had spent the better part of his life trying to find the train. Crystal Falken, a member of the Advisory Council for the Polish government on related matters, found out from her satellite images that a rail once existed somewhere beneath the same location where Andreas reported the hidden train was. More puzzling was the fact that this train track, which no longer exists, led to one of the several headquarters of Hitler across Europe. Upon investigating the headquarters, it was clear that the fleeing Germans had blocked off certain areas of the underground region. This was either in hopes of returning to finish what they were building or hiding something really important beyond the walls. Soon the Polish military swung in to take control of the suspected site. Of course, Koper found the military's interruption not a great idea. They planned to investigate only a few meters beneath the suspected rail tracks. He was certain they would come up with nothing. However, one of the main assignments of the military was to check the environment for landmines, active explosive components that may not have been detonated during the war. After a while of checking and pronouncing the area safe, it was time for geophysicists to step in and test the restricted area for the famed treasure. Problems, however, with this search were the inconsistencies of the report and the effects of the war. While Potter and his counterparts believe a different rail track, which was later blown up to prevent intruders, was used to ferry off the precious items, there's no basis for this. This is because the Nazis built multiple bunkers during the war, especially as the attacks of the Allied forces intensified. There were also lots of hidden places within Poland that Hitler and his pilfering generals could have used to stash their ill-gotten wealth. It also seems unlikely that Hitler's men, soldiers, and survivors of the concentration camps who built some of the suspected tunnels where these were supposedly kept were able to stay silent for almost 7 decades, not saying anything about it until 2015. However, not everything could be ruled off. At the height of his reign, the Fuhrer built multiple headquarters across a number of European nations, where he coordinated the activities of the war. Some of the most mysterious routes led to these headquarters known as the Reza. Cave experts made their way into one of the tunnels that led to the Reza in Poland. They came across fortified secret bunkers. A recovered document revealed that this bunker was for the storage of weapons and related items, thus ruling out the possibility of treasure. There's also no way to prove why the Germans built these huge tunnels and what they were, except for more classified documents from the Soviets or Red Armies are obtained. This is because these armies were some of the first to raid and search bunkers when the war ended. What is known, however, is the Germans wanted to build a safe haven for scientists who could help design and possibly detonate atomic weapons. With all of these variations and accounts, it was now time for the Polish government to make a statement. On the 15th of December 2015, a press conference featuring those who had investigated the mystery was put together. Potter and Andreas finally presented to the world the 3D evidence they had to prove the hidden train was under the tracks. The geophysicist also methodically stated that, with sufficient reason, there was no possibility of a train hidden there. This is because none of his scientific methods had proved the presence of sufficient metal in the area. In the end, he argues that there might be an underground tunnel, but definitely not a train. Porter and Andreas were disappointed, but did not plan on stopping. They wanted the approval of the state to dig through the area, as they were more convinced than ever that the Nazi Gold Train was right there. As the news of this much-desired gold train diminished, the question on the heart of everyone is, what sort of government cover-up is all this? Tell us what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you enjoy content like this. Thank you for watching. What do you think? Is it a myth or did it really exist? Will it be found someday? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Like stories like these, make sure you click the subscribe button before it disappears.